All right, we're going to do this count in 6-8. You ready?
Sure.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I like how you definitely punched your mic.
It's fine. They're resilient.
Hello.
Hello. Oh my God, we're at week 3. God, it's amazing. God, so many weather changes and social events and current events that are social.
Not new clothes, though.
No, we wear the same thing every day.
Ultra minimalist.
It almost even looks like we're filming on the same day.
But no, don't let time confuse you.
I think that Cher said that.
Did she?
Nah.
No.
Actually, I'm not
I
sure.
couldn't,
Yeah.
Even if it was true, I don't know enough about Cher.
I don't know that much either.
I thought her name was Chair for the longest time because C-H-E-R. I'm a youngin'.
Huh.
It was
Okay.
Chair.
Chair. Hello, grocery store. Okay. So, welcome to the
Welcome to the Repo podcast where we talk about Clash Traders.
Yeah, and we're falling off the deep end already. We're 1 minute in, and our podcast is failing on the 3rd episode. Okay. Welcome to the podcast. This is episode 3. Thank you for joining us again. If you are subscribed, thank you so much for everything that you do for us. I have said this before. We are like delicate flowers that need sunshine and water. And just like flowers, we need likes and subscribes and shares and all those fun things. Speaking of share, there we go. We got a transition. It works.
We got there in the end.
Indeed. That's our motto.
Don't worry, guys. It's only going to get worse from here.
We got there in the end. That's anyways. So today on the podcast, we are going to talk about other stuff, but it's still along the same lines of customer service stories. So let's just dive right in. Tyler, have you ever had one of those circumstances in life where you just make a choice and like you made that choice and that decision was made and then you're like, oh, fuck. I have to deal with whatever the consequences are of that choice. But you're like in the moment, you're like the next 2 minutes might be real uncomfortable from the choice that I just made.
Often, yes.
This is that story for me. So diving right in. So I used to work at a bookstore that oftentimes sold books at like half price, and they sold like used half price books. But we won't give we'll keep their identity a secret. So. And so at this store, what would happen is someone would come in and they would bring in books through like the rear entrance of the store, and they would bring them in like a box, hopefully, or something. And then they would set them on the counter, and you would look through all the books and you would be like, okay, this one's worth this much. This one's worth this much. And you would make a cash offer on the books they brought in. And the thing is, it's kind of a brilliant business plan. It's kind of a fun job. Like, I will always look back fondly on that job. It's some of the most interesting people I've ever worked with, some of the kindest people. Those people really were a family, and like it was kind of an amazing culture to be a part of at that time. I can't speak for it now, but back when I worked there 10 years ago, like it was a great time. And so this one dude comes in, and we've talked about Chads, but this was not a Chad. He was definitely more of like a Rick. For the sake of the story, we're just going to call him Rick. So Rick comes in, and he's got this box, and the box is pristine box, like one of those where it's like paper, like Hammer Mill or something. It's like reams of paper inside of like one of those boxes.
Yeah.
But like he took that box and he took all the paper out of the box so that he could use the box for other things, like that kind of thing. So it's like pristine box. And he brings this pristine box with these pristine books, and he brings them up to the counter for me. And he's like, hey, I want to sell these. I was like, great. I get his information, and I immediately look down and look at what it is. And so like, just to give you an idea, like there are some things that you can generally tell that like a book is nice. So like on like the front cover, it'll be like a nice, like maybe leather or something like that. And it may have like either like a gold inlay or like mother of pearl, you know, just like anything else. Like a nice guitar has mother of pearl inlays and all that other stuff. But like when a book is bad, it tries to make it look like those things, but it's faked. Yeah. So it's like a pleather. And instead of like mother of pearl, it's like mother of toilet seat. like, like something plasticky.
Porcelain throne of a.
Yes, from the finest of porcelain thrones. And so like, and like I'm looking at these books and I'm like, oh, fuck. All right, I know exactly what these are. I was like, these are old law books. And the thing about old law books is that they're useless.
Yeah. Laws
change, things change in the world, and then the laws get updated. And so when you bring an old law book, it's like especially useless. Like most law books, they're used for reference, and lawyers use them, and they sometimes use them. But now there's like databases and online sources that they use and that they pay subscriptions for, and that those are much more accurate. And then like these law books, they're just outdated and no one needs them. And like lawyers are kind of like not as plentiful as like the next, occupation. So It's like, there's not a lot of lawyers. The lawyers that exist, they don't go for used law books. They definitely don't want old ones, and they probably pay for something, or they work for a firm that pays for something for them. So knowing all this, I know I can't sell this because it doesn't make any sense. No one's going to buy it. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm faced with a difficult task. I need to tell this dude who obviously is like dressed nice, brought these very perfect looking books in a pristine looking box. I'm like, he takes care of his things and he obviously values his things. And I just generally realize this as I'm about to tell him that I can offer you 50 cents.
Per book.
No, total.
Oh,
I can't sell any of them. Whoa. So I'm going to either do one of two things. I'm either going to recycle them for him because, that's all we can do. Thanks for bringing them in. I don't want to insult you or waste your time. Here's something, but like I can't really, like maybe $1 or $2.
How
right?
Like are law books like college textbooks where they're like $400 a
in
pop?
their day? They were like encyclopedias. So it's like you would pay thousands of dollars for a set of encyclopedias if it was a really nice set of encyclopedias, maybe 1,000. And then like over time, because the internet exists, no one buys encyclopedias anymore.
God bless DuckDuckGo.
And I know there's someone right now that's in the comments and they're like, oh, I have a set of encyclopedias. This is a wonderful resource.
I use it on the daily. No, you don't.
And it's like, yeah, maybe. And cool. I'm happy for you.
Get a life.
But you are
grass.
rare. And also, like, don't sell them if you like them that much. Just hold on to them or recycle them because no one wants them and no one is going to pay for them. Yeah. So we have like one of two options that we could do. I can either recycle these for you, or I can throw into a box. And we used to have this program where people would buy a box of books that they would only use because they looked nice on a shelf. And so like people that would stage homes for sale, or like set designers, like they would buy them.
That's cool.
For that reason. And that was just one more use that we got out of them. But generally speaking, like no one wants these.
Else.
No one's going to pay like $1 a piece. Like not even that. Like they're old law books. No one needs them for reference, and decorators use something else. So it's like,
and I doubt the collector's market for law books.
Right.
I don't think it's exactly thriving.
There's no one that collects it. I'm sure if there is somebody that collects like old law books, like, hi, I have so many questions. But like also like they've got to be ancient. Like it would have to be interesting somewhat, because like the laws of 1992, no one's interested in, like guarantee no one's interested in that. But the laws of like maybe like 1796, like first century America type stuff, like maybe that's interesting. I don't know. Like if it's got like maps and stuff and like, yeah, sure, maybe. Okay. But like, yeah, these are not
pictures?
worth anything.
I'm not good at reading.
Right. Exactly. Well, with the law books, you better be good at reading. But anyways, so with these law books, I don't have many options. So I call him back up to the counter and I was like, Rick, thank you so much for bringing these in. Here's the deal. And I kind of like explain those things, but like in a much more concise, like condensed version. Like, unfortunately, I can't really buy these books from you today for these reasons, these reasons. So what I'm going to be able to offer you is $1. And that $1 is just like my way of saying thanks for the time. I'm actually just going to go and recycle these. And he got like an atom bomb went off in the stress cortex of his brain. And I don't know what the stress cortex is, but like whatever it is in his brain that like incites like irrational anger, like that erupted and his eyes lit up. And he like, and his voice didn't raise, but it got much more intense. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so he's like looking at me dead in the eyes and he's telling me, these are law books. And I was like, I fully understand. And I just kind of explained everything that I just explained to you in the podcast today, but I explained it in a much more concise manner. And he goes, that's not true. Someone will buy them. And I'm like,
yes, you.
I was like,
new.
Right. And I was like, well, I was like, I really just don't think that that there's, a market for these anymore with the internet, with this and the fact that laws change and decorators and this. And I kind of like gave him more of the expanded version of it. And instead of, granting understanding, his response was, but I'm a lawyer.
I will sue you.
Well, and so my response being me, so I'm a lawyer. And then I take a step back and I was just like, and I am a bookseller. And
who knows more here?
Well, and I was like, I have to say that my profession is to sell books. And if I can't sell these books, it doesn't make sense for me or my business. It's nothing personal. This is just dollars and cents. And like, I'm kind of like getting more into it. And I'm like, I'm really seeking out like some understanding, and I understand where you're coming from. I understand why you're angry, and this is also customer service, and I'm also doing this. But like at the same time, like and then this is where it escalated to the point of where my mind broke, which is he goes, hey, I could have your job. Right.
Take it, bud.
And then immediately that same like stress cortex in the brain, the atom bomb thing that happened with him, it happened with me. And I just elevated to like, I became the phoenix that was rising out of the ashes. And I turned into a sarcastic asshole. And I told him, he's like, I could have your job. And so I just look at him calmly. And I said, I'm sorry, sir. We're actually not hiring at the moment. And his face turned bright red. My manager was behind me. And she did one of she had to stifle laugh in her arm and duck behind a desk that she was sitting at because she was evaluating another buy, and like she like lost it. And I immediately was like, here I am. This is the crossroads that we were talking about. I have just made a decision. I have just said some things. And all of the decisions that I've made in my life have led me to this one moment in time where now I have upset an upset lawyer man who's already upset, and it's escalating. And I just told him that we're not hiring, who obviously has many issues. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to take it. And he just turned more and more red and kind of like, and like wanted to say things, and then he couldn't. And then he was like, and then he turned around and he left. And
Did he take his books?
No, he left them.
Oh, donation.
Right. And that's what we do. We recycle the ones because we can't donate them because they don't want them. But like we recycled the books, and like I like for a day, like I looked back and like the whole buy team was behind me, and they're just like jaw dropped, and they're just like, and I was just like, in that moment, I was just like, oh my God, I almost died again. I was like, so thus concludes the story.
Oh no, I haven't had something like that entertaining. The only situation I've had close is I worked at a guitar store for a while. I was mainly there as like an apprentice to like fix guitars. That's what I got hired for, but I ended up more as a salesman. Totally cool. Mm-hmm. It was a fun job either way. The thing is, this particular store, whenever you like make a purchase for whatever reason, they require that you give us their phone number, your name, and if you are willing to, your address. They don't send you anything. It's just like customer accounts.
Right.
I don't know why we do that. All the workers thought it was dumb, but the owner was dead set on having it be this way.
Sure.
Whatever, man. You're paying me $12 an hour. I'm not going to argue too much. Mm-hmm. Well, most of the time people, well, why do you need my phone number? And you explain it to them, and they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense, I guess. It also worked in their benefit where if they ever lost their receipt, needed to do a return, we could pull up their phone number and look at all their purchases and validate purchases that way. It was also came down to like warranties and things like that.
Sure.
It was helpful to have.
Yeah.
So explain that to people and they would be like, okay, cool, awesome, great, so glad. Every now and then you'd get these freedom-loving Americans that would come in and you'd ask and they're like, oh, I don't give out personal information. And we're like, well, I can't complete the purchase unless you give it to me. That's just store policy.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry. I know it's dumb, but like, I need this if you want to leave with your guitar strings or your bass or whatever they're buying that day. Most of the time they just get angry and walk out. Okay, cool, whatever. Takes me 10 steps to put that thing up. One time there was this gentleman and his young son who sat there and wanted to argue the point. So he like stepped aside and he goes, I want these strings and I want to support a local owned business that I know isn't doing anything sketchy, isn't outsourcing to China. Okay, hey man.
All right.
This is Midland as well. So
We
like,
wound these this morning.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, I understand that. If you don't like it, there's also this other guitar store in town. You can go there. They're local owned as well, and I know they have this string as well, and they don't require this, and it takes like 5 minutes to drive there. Just trying to give him other options because like this is not like I could lose my job if I folded on this point.
Sure.
Like that is how strict this rule is.
Gotcha. Wow. It's intense.
Yes, it was dumb. And he started like getting red in the head. His head was shaved, so his like whole bald head was like turning bright red. He goes,
yes.
I don't understand. I am trying to give you money. Do you know how money works, young man? It's like, I do, actually. I may be a college dropout, but I do understand how currency works, sir. And he goes, well, then you take this $20 bill and you open that damn drawer right there and you get me change, you give me a receipt, and I walk out. That is how this works. And I'm like, that's fine. I'd have to do that. What's your name and address? Like, I have to have this, man. I can't. There's no way around it. And eventually he like opened the set of strings and it's like, oh great, now he has to pay for them. He opens the set of strings and lays the strings out one by one. And I'm watching this whole time because I don't want to upset this guy any more than he is. Just trying to calm the dude down.
Sure.
And he lays them out and he goes, do you see these 6 strings here? And I'm like, yes, sir, I do. They are Ernie Ball brand Super Slinkies. And he
Fantastic set of strings.
and he goes, I wish to buy them.
Oh, God.
I'm like, yes, sir, I understand that. You are more than willing. I'm more than willing to sell them to. I just need your phone number and your name. I don't even need the address. Phone number and name. And he goes, I will not give you that because you will most likely sell it to foreigners.
Whoa.
Whoa. Oh, hold on. What?
Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah,
No.
we made a couple steps. We jumped a few steps
Let's
in the
take
whole
a
process.
few steps
Yeah.
back. What? And I'm like, sir, we don't sell your information. Really, the only people that can access it is the managers and the owner himself. All of us are vetted and things like that. We're not doing anything. There'd be no benefit to us to sell your information to whoever you're worried about, sir. And he points down at the strings and he goes, I'm leaving with these strings, whether I pay for them or not. And at that point, I'm just like, sir, you do whatever you want. If you want to do this legally, I need you to give me your phone number
Right.
and your name.
Yeah.
I've already talked to my manager. We can't go around this. Like, this is the hurdle in our way. You could even give me a fake number at this point.
This was a cash transaction?
This was a cash transaction.
Yeah. That's tough. I mean, that's one of those things, too, where it's like...
The company was being dumb, but
Yeah.
I needed to pay my bills and couldn't afford to.
Right. Yeah, you were not the appropriate forum to make a complaint at that point in time, or to make a point. You know, like.
But that's the closest I've ever gotten to something like that. Was just someone getting really mad. He ended up just like walking out of the store, and we used those strings.
Yeah.
To string up guitar on the wall. Like, not a big
Right.
deal. Dude never came back, which is weird because
Right.
he kept telling me he knew the owner and that he had been supporting this company for 50 years, which is weird because the store had only been open for like 15. But, you know,
yeah, that's how it goes. You know, we still have people that come into the grocery store that are like, I know the founding owners, and I'm like, and I'm sorry for your loss. All righty. Is that the time?
Yeah, yep.
All right, time is time. And so we are out of time. Thank you so much for listening and joining us for today's episode of the podcast. If you liked it, if you got something of value, if we made you chuckle, if you got infuriated with people, that's all valid responses to these stories. So go ahead and subscribe if you're not subscribed. This is just kind of basic stuff. If you got some value, give us a little value back. That's all. It's just a little basic transaction. We appreciate you. If nothing else, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, that is the alarm that happens.
our camera is almost out of footage time.
That our camera is running out of footage on the SD card. So, all right, without further ado, thanks. Bye.
Bye.